Okay, so yeah, so in the today's lecture, so we are going to talk about structured query language. So let me show this. So this is what we talked last time, right? So we when you do database design, basically you will start from the conceptual data modeling. In that phase, you are going to create ER diagram, something like this, right? So here, after you do conceptual data modeling, you will have something like this, right? You will have an ER diagram which conceptually model how your database will be implemented. And then once you have a ER diagram, you will go to the relational data modeling stage. So here basically we translate ER diagram into relational model like this. So entity becomes table, and we specify all the attribute with the primary key and foreign key to represent the relationship. And last week, what we talked about is this: once you have a relational model, then physical implementation is straightforward. You simply implement the relational model in the MySQL software or any other relational database software, and then those software will be able to translate your relational model into physical implementation. Then you will have tables like this. So all the entity becomes a table in the database system, and inside the table you are able to add multiple records like this. So that was a physical implementation. So that's what we talked last time. And yeah, then basically we also talked about this last week. So we installed MySQL and server. MySQL community server is basically the server. Yeah, it's the server where we store the data, and our data is managed. So basically we have MySQL community server, and then we use MySQL workbench to connect to server and to give some operation. So we design the relational model and we ask the server to implement it, something like that. So to implement the database system, we make a relational model like this, and we use for the engineer to translate our model into the physical implementation. And if we update our model, we use a synchronize feature to make an update to be reflected in our implementation. And also, sometimes if you work in an old company and the company already has an old database system, however, they don't have any documentation about that, they don't have any model, then we can use a reverse engineer from the implementation to show and to see how it is implemented in a model, something like that. So we talked about this last time. So what we are going to talk about today is a structured query language, basically SQL. So SQL is a way to communicate with the relational database. So it's kind of a language we use to communicate with the database system. So in the relational database system, we already have a data stored, and now as a user, you want to access this database system and you want to retrieve information which you want. Then you are going to use SQL to manage the data stored inside the relational database. So that's the main purpose of the SQL. So it's another programming language that you are going to use to communicate with the database system. So that's the main concept of the SQL. So for SQL, there are three different types of SQL depending on the role of the language. The first one is a data definition language. So basically, you can use DDL to create, alter, or drop tables. So there is a create statement, alter statement, drop statement. So you can use that. Uh, However, for this one, you can actually just utilize MySQL workbench, and you can just design the model there, and then MySQL program will generate this DDL automatically. So in this class, we are not going to talk too much about DDL, but later, if you want to know how you can create, alter, or drop tables without using the relational model, if you want to do that directly, then I provide additional resource later so that you can study by yourself. So it's because we cannot cover everything in the short time period of one semester. So that's why. And there is also DML. So this is most used SQL language basically. So it's a data manipulation language. So basically, it's about querying a database. So you read information stored in your database system, and you manipulate those information for your own purpose, for your own interest. So here there's a select query, update query, insert query, delete query. Basically, it's all about reading the information stored in your database, which is select, or manipulating information stored in your database, which is update, insert, delete. So if you work as like a data scientist or data analyst in a company, then basically you will use a data manipulation language. So this is the most frequently used SQL, and this is the most important part. So our focus in this class will be on data manipulation language. So that will be our main focus. And another type of SQL is a data control language, which is DCL. So basically, it's about administration or like committing data, something like that. So it's more about um, what should I say? It's more about administrative role of the database system. So most of the like regular people who are data scientists or data analysts, they will not likely use DCL that much. So DCL will be used by mostly used by data administrator. So only a few people who are actually managing the database system in a company. So they will use DCL to grant. So basically giving a different privilege to the different user, or revoke, which is removing that privilege. So they can change your role in the database system. And commit is basically if there are changes made in the database system, they can reflect that change permanent. And rollback is if there's any problem in the database system, they can roll back to the previous time step. So if there are like wrong information added into database system, the administrator may roll back to make the system to go back to the previous version or something like that. And save point is basically deciding when will be the rollback point, something like that. So there is also this year. Again, this part we will not really focus on it. And actually, for this year, even though you don't know any SQL, you can still do it in the most cases, because if you use MySQL Workbench, there's all functionality about this year already implemented in the system. So even though you don't know any SQL, you are still able to do all these functions simply by uh, using the user interface of the MySQL Workbench. So uh, basically in our class, most of the focus will be on DML. So basically today's class will be based on hands-on exercise. So I will show you something and you can just follow together and you can see how you are able to utilize the SQL on the database system. So what I'm asking you is this. So if you go to the Blackboard at the course page, I uploaded this file called MySQL script.sql. So you can download this and you can open this SQL file on MySQL Workbench. So let's follow this. Okay, so first of all, let's open MySQL Workbench, which you guys installed last time and which you used last time. So if you are working on your laptop or desktop and you already installed this MySQL Workbench, right, last time. So open this. So let me click this. Okay, so it is here. So and also, yeah, we have to download this file, right? MySQL script.sql from the course page. So let's yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, so it's here. Okay. Okay, so if we go to the course page under course contents, then you will see this file here. Here, this one, MySQL script.sql file, right? So I can click this arrow right next to it, and then okay, you can probably just click it. Okay, then it will download automatically. So I download it under desktop. Yeah, so I already downloaded it, but you can download it here. So I save it under desktop of my computer. So after you download it, you can go back to your MySQL. So yeah, after you download it, go back to your MySQL and yeah, click this first. So under the Dolphin menu on the left sidebar, then there will be MySQL connection and you will see your local instance, right? So if your MySQL is installed correctly again, then you will see this local instance connection here. So click this to connect to your MySQL server. So let me close all this. Okay. Okay. So yeah, one thing I want to mention is this. So basically on the left sidebar here, so on the left sidebar here, in the middle, there's administration and the schema option, right? So I talked about this last time, but let me just remind you again. So administration, if you click that, there will be all the administration options. So how to manage your database. So those options are here. And if you click schema, schema is basically database. So if you click schema, it will show what kind of database exists inside your database server. So those two options are there. So if you click administration, basically there are multiple options here, right? Like users and privilege and like data export. So all these options, basically all these options are what I talked to you earlier about DCL. So data control language. So which are already here. So you can utilize, you can simply click and you can control those settings. And if you click schema here in the middle, then it will list all the database you have on your database server. So here, what we are going to do is this. So we are going to click this one, the second icon here, this one on the top left corner, the second icon, this one. It says open a SQL script file in a let me see. Yeah, it says open a SQL script file in a new query tab. So the downloaded SQL file, we want to open it. So click this one. And here under desktop, I saved it here, right? MySQL script.sql. So select this file and click open. Okay, then the file is open. So basically, yeah, I prepared some SQL statement here. So basically, it's mostly the create. It's mostly about the DDL, so data definition language. Basically, create table or something like that. So I prepared this one here so that we are on the same page and we are dealing with the same data set. So everyone is here. So yeah, I cannot like see your screen. So yeah, I'll just ask you. So if you are already here, just type yes. Okay, so you guys are following well. Yeah, so if I'm going too fast or if you missed some step, just type and let me know, okay? So here, if you want to perform the SQL, then what you need to do is just simply this. So on the top here, there is a lightning icon here, right? This one. So if you put your mouse cursor on the lightning icon, it says execute the selected portion of the script or everything. So make sure that, so if you like select this part and if you click lightning icon, only that part will be executed. If you want to execute everything, then make sure that nothing is selected on your file. So in this case, make sure that nothing is selected on your file so that every code is performed. And then click this lightning icon. Then this SQL file will be performed. Click it. Then you will see that there are a lot of things happened here, right? So a lot of SQL code was performed and a lot of things are happened here. So if it is done, what you want to do is this. We want to make sure that whether this is performed correctly. So here on the left sidebar, make sure that you select the schema on the middle on the left sidebar. And on the top here, next to the schema, there's this refresh icon. So click the refresh icon to see the update on your database. So if I click this refresh icon, I see that there is new database created, which is order system. So now you will see this new database system, database order system under your schema. And if you open table here, you will see that there are multiple tables. There are customer table, order line table, part table, and sales representative table. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables inside this order system database. So let's do reverse engineer to see how this database system is modeled. So currently we have this database here, but we don't know how it looks like. So to know that, so if you are curious about the relational model of this system, then basically you can go to the here top menu on the database. So on the top menu, there's a database. So click this. And here in the middle, there's a reverse engineer. So let's click this. Okay, then it shows this menu here, right? So in this menu, simply click next. So don't change anything, click next. Okay, and click next again. So select database, basically schema. Select the schema you want to include. So simply check order system only. Don't check test. Test is what we made last time, but don't check it. Only check order system in this case, because we want to know how order system database is implemented. And then click next. Okay, so let's finish it and click next. Okay, there are 5 tables, right? 5 objects. Okay, that's good. Click execute. Okay, it's done. We are still waiting. Okay, it's done. Then click next and click finish. Okay, then now we have this relational model made here. So let me reorganize this a little bit. So basically, this is the relational model of order system database, which we just created using SQL file. Basically, it's the same as what we have in the slide. So basically, there's 5 tables. So if I briefly explain, basically, it's the database system designed for a retail store. So this store basically sells products to a customer, and customer is able to order products. So we have a customer table here, right? So basically, yeah, we have a customer table here. So customer table includes customer number as a primary key, and there's name, address, balance, credit limit, and sales representative number as a foreign key here, right? So basically, customer is linked with the sales representative. So sales person information is here. So we have a sales person number as a primary key, and name, address, total commission. What is this? Com rate. There's some information here, which I'm not sure. Anyway, it's there. So customer and sales person are linked by one-to-many binary relationship, right? Using the here foreign key sales representative number. Basically, one salesperson is managing many customer, right? So maximum cardinality here is 1 and many. So one salesperson is managing many customer. So that makes sense. And each customer has only one salesperson. And customer makes order, right? So it's also one-to-many relationship. So order table, there's order number as primary key. There's order date and customer number as a foreign key here. So basically, one customer is able to make many order, and each order should belong to one customer. So that makes sense. And there's a order line table, and here is a part table. So part is basically product table. So if you look at the part table, there's a part number as primary key, and other information, part description, unit on hand, item class, warehouse number, and unit price like this. So all these informations are here. So if you look at this carefully, basically order table and the part table are connected by order line table as a many-to-many relationship. So you can see that, right? Here is 1 and 1, 1 and 1, and here is many and many. So order table and the part table are connected by many-to-many relationship. So in this assignment table here in the middle, it uses order number, which is a primary key of order table, and part number, which is primary key of part table, as composite primary key as well as foreign key. And basically, each order includes multiple products, and each product can be included in multiple order like this. And when each order includes a certain product, we have a number of order, right? How many products, how many of that products are ordered. We also have a quoted price. So unit price is here, but depending on the order, you may get some discount. Then quoted price might be different from the unit price, something like that. So that's basically how the order system database is implemented. Okay, let me go back. Okay. Okay, so now let's so now we checked how our database look like. So let's go back to the our database system. So here in the MySQL workbench. Okay, so we are done checking this. So let's go back to our local instance here, which is our MySQL server. So click this one, the first tab, which is a local instance. So let's click that to go back to the database here. Okay, so thing is this. So whenever, so basically the thing is this. So in your database server, you will have a multiple database. So currently, in our database server here, in my database server, I have an order system database, which we just created. And in addition to that, we have a system database. We also have a test database, which we created last time. So when you have a multiple database in your server, before you use SQL, you have to specify which database you are going to use. How to specify that? There are two ways. The first way is simply double-click the database you want to use. Then you will see that currently order system database is highlighted, right? It's shown as a bold character. It means that when I use SQL, this order system database will be used. And if I double-click test, then test is bolded now. It means that now if I use SQL, test database will be used. So in our case, we are going to use order system database. So let me double-click order system database so that it is selected. Another way is when you design your SQL, you can include this statement here, use order system, something like that. Then you are going to use, basically you are saying that in the SQL, you are going to use this database system. So there are two ways. And this is a basic SQL statement. So every SQL statement will look like this. So basically, you will start from select. So after select, you specify the column name. Basically, you will list columns that you want to display if you use a select statement. And then you will use a from statement. So you will specify a table name. Basically, you will list the tables which you are going to use in this SQL query. And the last one is where statement. So where statement, here you will list any conditions that you want to apply to the data. And at the end of each SQL statement, you have to put a semicolon. Basically, it's telling that you are finishing this query there. So that's a basic SQL statement. And the best way to learn and best way to make you familiarize with the SQL statement is actually doing it by yourself and practice by yourself. So I prepared some exercise here, so we are gonna do it together. The first one is this. Before that, if you want to design a new SQL query, simply you can use this option here. So here on the top menu, there's this icon, right? SQL with the plus sign. So if you put your mouse cursor on it, it will say create a new SQL tab. So whenever you want to make a new SQL query, then simply click this, and the new SQL tab will be added on your screen. So you can type your new SQL here. And if you want to save it, of course, you can go to the file and you can save a script. You can choose that. Then you will be able to save your SQL script file. Okay, the first one is this. The list. The first one is this. List the number, name, and balance of all customers. So again, so this was our database, right? This was how it looked like. So if we want to list customer number and the name and the balance of the customer, all these information are stored in the customer table. So it's all information about the customer. So simply what we need to do here is this. First of all, basically it's the simple retrieval. So we want to read some information already stored in our database system. And in this case, we want to know some customer information. So we start from the select statement. So we use select and we list those attributes that we want to see as a result of the query. So we are interested in customer number. So we had the customer number attribute inside the customer table and customer name. So we also had customer name attribute and the balance. We had a balance attribute inside customer table. So we can write down that. And then we can use the from statement. So which table this information was stored. So these attributes were stored inside the customer table. So we can type table name, which is customer. So we want to select customer number, customer name, balance attributes from customer table. And that's it. So we end this statement with a semicolon. So let's type this in your MySQL workbench. So here I can type select. If you want, also you can use and you can specify the database name. So here you have to use this colon and type order system and semicolon. Yeah, I think this is too tiny. Okay. Okay. And select customer number, customer name, and the balance from customer table. That's it. So this is basically the answer for exercise A. So you can use a select statement and you can list attributes you want to see, and you can specify the table name with the from statement. So after you type this, you can simply click this lightning icon again on the top. Then your query will be executed. So if I click this, it will be executed and the results will be shown here. So basically in the customer table, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 customer. Yeah, there. And it lists customer number and the name and the balance information here. So that's basically the simple query which lists information stored in your table. Okay, so that's it. And let's go to the next one. So this time we want to list the complete part table. So earlier we had a part table inside our database system. And what this means is that we want to see all the attributes. We want to see all the fields inside part table. Then instead of listing all the name of, instead of listing all the columns after select statement, you can simply use this star sign. So basically in this case, we can simply use select, and you can list all the attributes here, which is inside the part table. But if you simply put a star sign here, it means that basically it's asking the database system to list all the information, all the attributes. So you can do that, and we can specify the from statement, and we can specify the name of the table, which is a part, and finish it with a semicolon like this. So in this case, if I go back to the MySQL, I can open new SQL tab, and I can simply type this. So select. Actually, yeah, you can make a new one, but I just use this one because yeah, this one shows yeah, this is already zoomed in. So I can type this, and if I click the lightning icon, the results will be shown here. Basically, from the part table, which is a product table, we list all the attributes. So currently in the part table, we have about 10 records again, and you can see the information, right? Part number AX12 is actually ion, and we have 104 units, and it belongs to HW hardware item class, and it's on warehouse number 3, and the unit price is $17.95, like this. We also have a skate, baseball, toaster, stove, washer, and all those things. So that's how you can utilize the star sign in the SQL query. Okay. So again, if I'm going too fast, just yeah, write it down on the Zoom chat box. And if you have any question, you can write down on the Zoom chat box again. Otherwise, I assume that you are able to follow. Okay, next is this. So next, I'm going to talk about how to utilize a where statement in the SQL. So currently, in the first two examples, I showed how we can retrieve all the information stored in our table. But now let's say that we want to look at only a specified information. We are not interested in looking at all the information. We want to know a certain information which meets our criteria. So something like this. We want to know the name of customer 124. So what is the name of the customer whose customer number is 124? Then we can design this SQL statement. Again, we are retrieving information. So we use a select statement, and we want to know the name, right? So we want to know customer, the information stored inside customer name attribute. So customer information is stored in the customer table. So we use the from statement and specify customer table here. And then we can use where statement to specify a condition. So our condition is that customer number should be 1, 2, 4, and finish our query with a semicolon. So basically, this query will show the name of customer when customer number is 1 to 4. So I can type this here. So show the customer name from the customer table when customer number is the same as 1 to 4. So type this, and if I click the lightning icon again, it will show the information here, right? So we have only one answer. So customer number 1 to 4, his her name is Sally, right? Sally Adams. So that's it. So basically, this is how you can utilize where statement. So if you use where statement, you are able to select only the information which meets your criteria you listed here. Okay, let's go to the next one. So you can also use a condition. So earlier, if you use the equal sign, you are selecting information which meets exactly that criteria. However, if you want to compare the number, then you can use a bigger than or less than sign too. So in this case, we want to find the customer number, name, and current balance for all the customers whose balance exceeds the credit limit. So a balance is basically the amount of money this customer needs to pay to the company. and the credit limit is how much, basically it's the credit limit, right? How much money the customer can use in a single transaction or something like that. So for this one, we want to find the customer number, name, and the current balance, right? So we start with the select statement and specify that. So we want to know customer number and customer name and the balance, right? For all customers. So all this information is stored at the customer table. And here we have a condition of only for those customers whose balance exceeds the credit limit. So for that condition, we need to use where statement, and we specify the condition. So only when balance is bigger than credit limit. So we have this field credit limit in our customer table. So only when balance is bigger than credit limit. And then we finish it with semicolon like this. So let's let's type this in the here. So let's just see whether it works. So customer number, customer name, and balance from customer table where balance is bigger than credit limit, and finish it with a semicolon. So after I type it, if I click the lightning icon, then yeah, I will see the results. So currently there are two customers whose balance exceeds credit limit. So we shouldn't get, so from the company's perspective, we should be careful about them because they used more money than their credit limit basically. So two customers are Daniel's, Tom, and Martin, then here. Okay, so that's it. So basically that's how you can like compare the number. And sometimes it is also possible you may compare the texture data, right? So currently you can use this sign, like equal sign and the greater than or less than sign in the where condition when you compare the numbers. And if you want to compare the texture data, then you can use your like operator like this. So if you use your like operator in the where statement, it will perform the pattern matching basically. What it means is that if you specify the attribute, and if you use like operator, and if you specify the textual value, then the SQL statement will try to find a match between the textual value and what you specify as there. And when you specify the, so I'll show you more example later, but also inside so when you specify the condition, you can also use the percent sign and then underline sign. So percent sign is used as wildcard, which means that anything with any length can match into percent sign. So let's say that if you want to find a customer whose name starts with A, then you can use A and percent. Then it should start from A, but anything can match after that if you use the percent. And the underline is a position marker, so any one character can match. So let's say that you want to find a customer whose name starts with A, but only 2 characters. Then you can use A and one underline. Then the customer name should include A in the beginning, and underline, there should be only 1 character. So let me show you some example here. So first of all, if you just want to find the exact match, then you can use simply like a statement like this. So let's say that if we want to find the customer, if we want to find the customer number for whose name is Sally Adams. So we know that there is a customer whose name is Sally Adams, and we want to know what is the customer number of that person. Then we can design this SQL query. So it starts from select, and we want to know the customer number. So we write down customer number field. So we want to know what's the value stored inside the customer number field. And customer information is stored inside customer table. And we use where statement to specify the condition. And the condition is that customer name should match, right? So we use a like operator here. So customer name should match Adams and put on space and Sally and semicolon like this. Then what this SQL query is doing is that it will try to find, so from the customer table, it will try to find the customer name that match with Adams Sally. And then for that record, it will show the customer number. So let's type that here in our MySQL workbench. And let's just see how it works. So we want to know customer number from customer table, where customer name should be Adams Sally and semicolon. So here, any texture value should be wrapped with a single quotation symbol. So if you want to find the customer name, which is Adams Sally, you put Adams Sally, and before that you put single quotation, and at the end you put single quotation. So this is represented as a texture value in the MySQL, basically. So after type this, if I click the lightning icon again here, then it will show the information. So actually in our database, there are two customers whose name is Adams Sally. So one is customer number 124, another is customer number 412. So these two customers have the same name as Adams Sally, basically. So this is one example of how the texture matching actually works in the MySQL. I will show you like a few more examples. So earlier I mentioned about this, right? So I mentioned about wildcard and the position marker. So but there's no exercise in the slide. So let me just give you one example. So let's say that we want to find customer whose name starts with A. Then basically what you can do is this. So for example, so let me put the customer name here too, so that you can see whether it works correctly. So if we want to find any customer whose name starts with A, then what you can do is that you type A there, and you can put this wildcard here, A%. Then all the other characters will be matched here. So any name starts with A will be matched into here. So if I change it like this and click the lightning icon, oops, doesn't work. Let me see. Yeah, let me search it really quickly. Oh yeah, so I think oh yeah, so probably I had a typo. So yeah, it works. Yeah, I don't remember what I typed here, but I think I had a typo, so it should work. Yeah. So so I want to select all the customer number and customer name from customer table when customer name starts with A, and basically percent will be matched with any length of the string, any length of the textual information. So there are two customers whose name starts with A, right? So the results are shown here correctly. And another thing is a position marker. So basically, position marker will so any one character will be matched there. So if I just use this, there will be no results because there is no customer whose names are two characters, right? But earlier there was Adams Sally. So Adams Sally is ADAMS comma space SALLY, right? So if I put it like that, and if I click the lightning icon, then okay, so then there will be two match, right? Because they both start with the A, and their name contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters basically, right? So that's how the position marker and the wildcard works in the texture match. So that's the conditional operator in the SQL. So it is possible when you specify a condition on the where statement, you may want to list multiple conditions. Then you can use AND or not operator together on the where condition, on the where statement. So basically, if you want to list two conditions like this, and let's say that you want to see the results only when both of these conditions are met. So when both conditions are satisfied, you want to list the results. Then you can use the AND operator in the middle between two conditions like this. And when you want to see the results, when either of the conditions are satisfied. So either condition 1 is satisfied or condition 2 is satisfied, then you want to see the results. Then you can put two conditions on the where statement with or operator in the middle. And the last is not operator. So if you use not operator and if you put the condition, the results will be shown when the condition is not satisfied. So you can utilize these three compound conditional operator when you specify on the where condition, basically. So let me show you some example here, how when we want to use this kind of conditional compound operator. So let's say that we want to list a description of all the parts, basically all the products that are in warehouse 3. So we want to see all the products in the warehouse 3. And when we have more than 100 units on hand, then we can design this kind of query here. So basically, we start from the select statement again. So we want to know the part description. So we write it down, part description. And this information is stored in the part table. So we specify part on the from statement. And then we use where statement to specify the condition. The first condition is the warehouse number should be 3. So we have this information inside the part table actually. So earlier, when we showed the relational model of this database system, we had a part table, and there we had this warehouse number attribute. So warehouse number should be 3. And so we specify AND compound operator here. So AND is there. So AND the unit on hand. So unit on hand field should be bigger than 100 and finish it. So let's type this in the MySQL workbench to see how it works. So we want to list all the part description from part table, and there are two conditions. So on the where statement, first of all, the warehouse number should be 3, and at the same time, the unit on hand should be bigger than 100. So we should have more than 100 units of this product, and finish it with a semicolon. So that's it. And if I click the lightning icon, the query will be performed, and we'll see that there are two products. We have Ion and Mixer. These two products are stored in warehouse number 3, and we have more than 100 units in our the company here, in our database system. That's what we have in our database, basically. So that's the example of utilizing AND operator. And OR operator, you can try by yourself. And there's also NOT operator we can utilize. So NOT is basically when a certain condition is not met, we want to see the result. So we want to, in this example, we want to list the description of all the parts that are not in warehouse 3. So we want to see what products are not in warehouse 3. In this case, basically, we can start from the select statement again. And we want to see part description. So we list part description. And then this information is inside part table. So we use the from statement. And in the where statement, we specify this. So not, and after not, we use this parenthesis symbol to include another condition. So warehouse number 3, and finishing with a semicolon. So basically, when warehouse number is 3, which is not, right? So when the product is not in warehouse number 3, we want to see the part description. So that's what this SQL statement is implying. So let's try this here again. Okay, so select part description from part. In this case, we use not operator, and warehouse number is 3, like this. So again, if I click this lightning icon here, lightning icon here, then the results will be shown. So there are multiple products which are not in warehouse number 3. So skates, baseball, stove, bike, and weights, all these products are not in warehouse 3. So that's what we see as a result of this query. Okay, and the next one is this. We also have a conditional operator called in. So earlier, I told you that we can use OR operator to represent multiple condition, and any of this condition is met, we are able to show the result, right? So in this example, we can show all the results from a certain table, and there are two conditions. So we can specify like this. So column 1 should be matched with the qualifier 1, or column should be matched with another value, like this. Then one of these two conditions are met, then the results will be shown. And we can do the same thing. We can specify the same SQL code using the in operator, like this. So I'll show everything from a certain table when the column value is either qualifier 1 or qualifier 2. We can do exactly the same thing. So if you use the in operator, basically when a column has a value listed inside the parenthesis, then the result will be shown. So either, in this case, either qualifier 1, this value, or this value is the same as the what they have in the column, then that result will be shown as a result of this SQL code. So that's the basically how the in operator works. And let me show you one example here. So let's say that we want to list descriptions of all the parts that are either item class HW or SG. Then we can design this query. So we can use the select statement, and we can show the part description. So that's what we want to show as a result of this query. And all this information is stored in the part table. And we can use a where statement and the item class. So there's an item class field actually inside the part table. So item class should be either HW or SG, right? So we can use the in operator, and inside the parentheses, we can specify it should be HW or SG. And finish it with a semicolon like this. So let's try this. So in the where statement, we can specify item class should be either one of these, HW or SG. And finish it with a semicolon like this. So basically, this where statement is talking that item class should be one of these values listed inside the parentheses. So HW or SG. If the item class is that, then we want to see the part description. So if I click the lightning icon here, then it will show the result. So here. So let me actually, show the item class together to see whether, it's showing the results correctly, right? So here. So Ion is a hardware, cage, SG, base over SG, like this. So all the product which belong to HW or SG, we are showing that information here. So it's working correctly. So another thing is this. So earlier I said that actually you can implement the same thing using the OR operator. So instead of this, you can also use this. Oops. You can just use your where operator, and you can say that item class is like HW or item class should be SG. So instead of this, you can also use this one. Then it will work in the same way. So here, if I change this part into like HW or item class like SG, it should work in the same way. So if I put that and if I click the lightning icon, then the results are the same, right? So that's how you can utilize the in operator in the where statement. Yeah, in this case. Okay, so here now it's a between operator. So you can use between operator for the numerical field. So when your column or attributes contains number value, then you can use a between operator. So earlier we talked about some of the operator, right, to compare the number value. So we talked about the equal sign. We talked about the greater than or less than sign, right? So in one SQL statement, you want to see the information from a certain table when a column is greater than or equal to minimum value and smaller than or equal to maximum value. So basically, when a certain column matches, when a value in a certain column is between minimum and maximum value you specify, you want to see all the results, then you can use this statement utilizing AND operator, right? However, simply you can use a between operator too. You can simply use the same select statement and the same from statement, and you can specify the column, and you want to see the results only when the value in a column is between minimum and maximum. Then you can specify the where statement using this between operator. So that's also possible, and yeah, in this case. So okay. So there's also is null operator. So sometimes some records in your table may not have any information on a certain field. So for example, what could be a good example? Let's just say that there's a customer number, right? There's a customer table. So in our ER diagram, we may have a customer entity, and we have a customer ID as a primary key and name attribute, and we may have like a phone number field, right? So let's say that when we record the customer information, everyone should have a customer ID, right? Because it's a primary key. And let's say that we put the name for everyone. But for the phone number field, some people may have this, but some other people may not have a phone number information in our database. Then you want to find those customer who doesn't have a phone number information, and we want to remind them to put phone number information into the database system. Then we want to check who doesn't have a phone number. Then we can use the is null operator. So if you use the is null operator, basically it will match those information, those data that doesn't have any information in that field. So if you are familiar with the programming language, then you will know what null means. Basically, null in the programming language means that data is missing or unknown. In that case, we call that as null. So in the database system, it's the same. For a certain record, for a certain customer, if a certain field is empty, there's no record there, we call that as null. So if some field has zero value or space value, it's not null because zero or space is certain data. So null is when there's no data. So basically, when the field is empty, we call that as null. So we can use is null operator, something like this. So we can specify what we want to see. Basically, we want to show everything from a certain table when when a certain column is basically empty. So we can specify is null operator like this. So I'm not going to show the example of this because in this sample data, which we created using the SQL file, I think there's no empty information. So I'm not going to show the example here, but you can try in the future. And also the next one is this. You can also create a new column. So you can create a computed column by utilizing a math operator such as plus, minus, multiplication, and division. So let's just say that you have a multiple numerical fields, numerical columns in your table, and you want to calculate some new value based on those numerical fields. Then you can utilize this math operators basically. So basically it's very simple. So you can use the select statement first, and here what we do is that we usually list the information we want to see after the select statement. But instead of doing that, you can list the computed information you want to see. So column 1 and column 2, you want to use some math operator. And if you see the results, you can specify based on this syntax. And then you can specify which table that information, the columns exist. So let me show you one example. So I don't think I have exercise here. Let me see. Oh, so actually I have one here. Yeah. So let's do this then. So we want to find the available credit for all customers who have a credit limit of at least 500. Then what we can do is this. So we want to see the available credit, right? So first we start from the select statement, and it's for customer. So let's put the customer number first. So we want to see customer number, and we want to see the available credit. So available credit information should be calculated based on what we have inside the customer table. So it can be calculated as credit limit minus balance. So we have this field inside our customer table. So for each customer, we have a credit limit information and the balance information. And available credit is calculated as credit limit minus balance. So they are all stored in our customer table. And we want to display this information only for those customers whose credit limit is at least 500. So bigger than or equal to 500. And that's it. So I can type this here in the MySQL. So basically select customer number. So we want to see customer number, and we also want to see available balance, which available credit, which is credit limit minus current balance from customer table where credit limit is at least 500. So that's it. Yeah, after you type this, and if you click lightning icon, the results will be shown here. So basically, customer numbers are here. So there are about like 7 customers whose credit limit is higher than 500. And we didn't have this available credit information in our database. So we didn't have this information, but we calculated the credit limit minus balance, which is listed here. So this is the new field created as a result of this query. So that information will be shown here after being calculated for every customer. So that's how you can utilize the computed column in the SQL. Okay. Okay, so there are some other operator you can utilize. So, if you want to rename a certain column, then you can use the edge operator. So, so inside your table in your database system, there are multiple fields, right? So we call that as column 2. So if you don't like using that name in your query, you can put the column name, and you can use the edge operator, and you can put the new column name. Then inside your query, when you execute your query, in your result of the query, the new column name will be shown instead of the original column name inside your table. Also, in a similar way, you can specify new table name using the edge operator. So for example, in this earlier example here on my MySQL. So instead of the credit limit minus balance, right? I want to name it differently. I want to name this as Okay. I want to name this field as available balance. I see that the available balance, so the name of a credit limit minus balance is changed into available balance. So you can rename the column on your query result using the edge operator. So that's the main thing here. And then here, the second operator you can utilize in your query results is order by. So if you use order by operator, basically it will sort your query results based on the column you specify. So at the end, so after you use a select statement, from statement, and then at the end you can add order by statement, and you can specify a certain column that you want to use to sort your query result. And also another operator is a distinct operator. So there are in your query result there will be multiple values which are like the same, and you want to remove all the duplicate value in your query result, then you can use a distinct operator. So after select a statement, if you use the distinct operator before when you specify the column name, then in your query result, the duplicated value will be removed. So you can use it like this. So those are syntax. So let's do some, let me show you some example here. So let's say that when you list all the customer information from the customer table, you want to sort the results based on the customer name. Then you can use the order by operator. So for this one, basically, we can use, we can start from the select statement, and we can show the customer number and the customer name. And let's see, customer address. So we want basically see these three information: number, name, address, and all these are stored in the customer table. So we specify the customer table on the from statement, and we can use the order by statement to show the results based on the customer name, like this. Then results of your query will be sorted based on the customer name. So here I can do customer name, customer address from customer table ordered by customer name, like this. So if I run this query, then you can see that when it lists all the information, it is not sorted by customer number, right? You can see that it is sorted by customer name information. So Adams, because Adams is starting with the A, is showing first, and then Baker starting with the B, and then Charles starting with the C, like this. So that's the order by operator you can utilize to sort your query result. And another example of a distinct operator is this. So if we want to list the different types of item class for the product, so basically in our database system, we have a part table, and part table contains different product information. And we are not really interested in product details. We just want to know how many different item class and what kind of item class exists, right? Because every product belongs to a certain item class, and we want to know what types of item class exist in our database system. Then we can use distinct operator. So in this case, we can use the select statement first, and then we can use the distinct operator to remove duplicates. So we want to know item class. But if there are any duplicates in our result, we want to remove it. So we want to only see what item class exists. And from part table, which contains all the product information. So that's it. So we can do this in our MySQL again. So we can use distinct operator item class from part like this. And if we click perform the query, then we see that there are 3 item class. So products belong to one of these item class, HW, SG, AP. So you can compare your results without distinct. So if you remove distinct operator, and if you run query again, then you will see that basically we have like 10 products, and for each product it shows the item class. But yeah, again, we are not interested in this information. We only want to see what kind of item class exists. Then you can use distinct operator. Then it remove all the duplicates, and it's only showing what kind of item class, what kind of different item class exists in our table. So basically, that's the distinct operator. Okay, so yeah. So that's all. So basically, yeah, I introduced a lot today. So if you don't have any experience with dealing with the SQL or my relational database before, this will look like a lot of information provided in one slide. But actually, all the things I covered in the second part is basically how to retrieve information from your database from a single table. So when you implement your database system, eventually you will have multiple tables, and in each table, there will be multiple records stored. So last week we talked about how to add your data into the table, and after you finish adding all the data into your table, the thing is that you want to read your information, right? So you want to retrieve the data stored inside your database, and you want to see, you want to search, and you want to select some information to see. Then you will use this select statement in the SQL. So basically, that's what I talked about today. So there are many different ways of using the select statement with a different operator and different condition. So I think that's the main things we talked about today. And there are more things which we are going to talk next week. So next week, so today basically all the select query and examples I showed to you is based on a single table. And next week, I'm going to show you more SQL, more examples of SQL which utilize multiple tables, and also how to retrieve aggregated information from like a table or different tables like that. So I'll show you more examples next week.